You've seen her all over recently. She's going viral. She's an SBA lender by day, social media influencer by night. Her underwriters don't know about her TikTok. Well, until now. Stick around for my conversation with Pattie Ehsaei. She is a lawyer turned private equity turned SBA lender, top producing with 850K followers on TikTok. Truly one of a kind. I've never been more excited to interview anyone. Stick around. So what do I call you? Madam Duchess?
No, you can just call me Pattie.
Oh, Pattie, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you as well.
I'm a big fan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind.
I've never been more excited to interview someone in my entire life.
Wow. This is an amazing compliment. Thank you so much, Ray.
When I stumbled across the post, and I've like seen you before on LinkedIn because we're both in the SBA space, and you're all the way on the other side of the country. I'm in Florida, you're in California. So
Oh, you are? Okay.
yeah, but when I saw the coverage you got on the TikTok stuff, I was just like blown away. You're up to like 850K followers.
Yes.
I had to re-download TikTok because I got rid of it because it was sucking all my time. But
It does that. Yes. It has a tendency to do that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you about all that stuff, including SBA lending as well. So thanks again for coming on. And there's so much to get into, and your story is fascinating. You came here from Iran when you were 7, fleeing kind of a tough situation. I identify with that because I also fled from a very young age from the Bronx down here to Florida. I'm just kidding. Totally different. But
kind of the same.
You know, I grew up not wealthy. There was some hardship there, and I feel like having some sort of chip on your shoulder drives you so much.
100%. Absolutely.
That's a big part of my success. And when I talk to other people, like same with them. Your whole thing is you were law, you went to law school, you're in social media now, you're SBA, you kind of do a whole bunch of different things, but you started out in banking. Was it selling merchant card services?
Yeah. I started out in 2001 going door to door selling credit card processing.
That's crazy. And, but you were good at it.
I was. And, even if I wasn't good at it, I knew I could figure it out. Right. So I've always bet on myself, and I've always known that whatever it is, you can figure it out. And by working hard, you can become good. So I went from a lawyer to doing that. And yeah, most people say that that's crazy. But again, I did that because I wasn't short-sighted, right? I didn't see this as my final destination, selling credit card services door to door. I saw more of a long-term play as far as what advancement opportunities are available in the organization. And that's what really intrigued me, because there were so many advancement opportunities.
Well, but even during the short time you were doing that, you were like top in the country.
Yes. After 4 months, I was #1 in the country. Yes.
Well, what took you so long? 4 months. Wow. How do you get good at that? Like, why were you so effective at that?
I think I was good because when you're a lawyer, those skills really transfer into sales. I mean, when you're a lawyer, you have to analyze a situation and sell your case to the jury or the judge. So you naturally have pretty decent public speaking skills. And that is also sales skills. So you have to analyze what you have to offer and make sure that the other person is going to be interested in what you have to say. So I think those are the skills that I took from my legal career. I was a prosecutor, right? So into sales.
It's fascinating. Yeah. And that's what I see sometimes with like the younger generation. Like they want to just skip right to the finish line and not put in the work. That's a good topic for a post if you haven't done that one already.
Oh, yes, I've done that. There's no shortcuts and there's no such thing as an overnight success. Overnight successes are typically 10 years in the making.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's awesome that you're creating content and that you're in the SBA space. I know you've done other things, but SBA is your current day job, we'll say, like mine. And so that people in our space aren't like content creators. Like they don't really get that side of things. Yes. So you went to TikTok because I guess you realized your YouTube videos were, it was just the format was it was too long. But what
Yes.
made you want to go to YouTube and get the message out that way?
Sure. So right before the pandemic, I was scheduled to give a few talks at some events that Big Brothers and Big Sisters was having. I was very involved in the program. I was also a big sister. I was the head of the workplace program in a few banks that where I worked. So I was very involved. And when the pandemic hit, it all shut down. So I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I had all this great information that I wanted to provide to, the youth out there. And I had no way of doing it. And at 2:30 in the morning, I woke up and it just hit me. I'm like, why don't I make videos with this information? So that's why I went to YouTube at first.
Then you switched over to TikTok, and
Yes.
the first TikTok I watched, which I think might have been your first TikTok, but it was about like settling for less.
Yes.
What made you post that? Like, where'd you get that idea from?
Every TikTok video that I do I shouldn't say every, I would say 98% of the TikTok videos that I do come from experience. And these are everything that I've done that I've screwed up, right? Where I've messed up, whether it's settling for less or not knowing how to ask for a raise or just, saying the wrong thing to my boss or wearing the wrong thing. Everything that I do on TikTok is inspired by mistakes that I've made. And that was a mistake that I made. So that's why I decided to do a video on it.
Right. So when something, pops up in your real life, you're like, that might be a good TikTok idea.
Exactly. To this day. Exactly. When something happens, I'm like, oh, you know what? This would be a great TikTok video.
That's similar to what I do when I'm trying to think of a topic for an episode of like the podcast, for example. I was like, oh, this is
Sure.
kind of pissing me off this week. So let me write an episode about it. Now, have you come to enjoy that process of creating the content?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's tough, right? I mean, as you know, someone that does a podcast, everyone thinks, "Oh, you just sit in front of a mic and you just ask questions." And it's not that easy. Had I really known how much time and effort it would take to do it, I'm not sure if I would have gotten started, Thank God I didn't. But yeah, I still love it. It's still a lot of hard work. For every 1 minute video you do, I would say it's about 45 minutes worth of work just to create that video with the editing and the music and everything. So
The
it's not
script.
easy. Yeah, the script, you have to write the copy and you have to do the video over and over and over again. Typically you don't get it on the first take.
Oh, I know. I have to set up the lighting, and I still didn't get it right, but I had to get on here. I
Yes.
was running late, so
Yes,
takes
lighting, right?
like
Just things you don't even like lighting in the room. And for you, really a podcast is mostly audio, right? But TikTok is visual, so your lighting has to be perfect. You have to look perfect. You have to change. It's a whole production.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I love that I don't even know you, so I don't know your actual personality, but it seems like you let your personality come out on these TikToks. Maybe you exaggerate it from time to time. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe it's not,
Yeah.
because I don't really
No,
know
it
you.
is. It
But
is very much my personality. Sure.
I love, by the way, your I don't even. We keep a clean podcast around here, so I don't know if I'm saying it, but the Rich B segments,
Yeah.
I love those. Then you're filming that, you're putting that out. Then you're going and working with your underwriters and closers at your day job. Like they must see
Yeah.
this stuff, right? What do they think about all this?
Well, luckily, our bank is based out of North Carolina. So a lot of those guys are not on TikTok. I can tell you that.
Well,
Um,
they might see it now.
they might, yeah, absolutely,
At this
right?
point.
The way that I see it, it really depends on the platform, right? So TikTok is a certain platform and a certain way of you conducting yourself is acceptable on TikTok. I would never conduct myself that way on LinkedIn. I would
Right.
never post those videos on LinkedIn or really any videos. Very few videos have I ever posted on LinkedIn. And that's because you have to understand the platform. There's a time and a place for everything. And for TikTok, that's okay. That aspect of my personality is perfectly okay at TikTok. but I keep it extremely professional when it comes to the workplace.
Yeah, well, and that's good advice and that's good etiquette. I would say go check out Patty at the TikTok handle is Duchess of Decorum.
Yes, thank you.
And it's about etiquette. It's talking to the younger generation, younger girls, financial stuff outside of SBA. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. So as someone who's come from different industries and you've seen a lot of different things, like what do you, when you look at the SBA industry, which is like deeply rooted in banking, which to me is kind of slow to innovate and a little old fashioned. What do you think about the SBA industry, particularly with what I just said, like innovation and whatnot? Like how do you see it?
Yes, I've been in the banking industry for over 20 years, and really doing SBA has been one of the most fun things I've ever done. And here's why: because I really think that with the SBA program, as far as financing, you are truly changing people's lives and impacting them for the better. So deals that traditional financing won't even touch, we do as SBA lenders. And especially, I do a lot of non-collateralized lending. I do a lot of business acquisitions. That's really my bread and butter. And there, those people, they don't qualify for traditional bank financing. So if it weren't for the SBA, this person could not fulfill their dreams of buying a business and making something of themselves, which is really, not to be cliche, but the American dream. So I think SBA financing really facilitates the American dream more than any other aspect of banking.
Yeah. Everyone who's in it typically stays in it. It's really hard to leave
Yes.
once you get in this industry. And
Yes.
you're
Yes.
still in it. So for now,
Yep.
are you doing business development there? Are you in or are you in a management role or?
No, I do now. I only do business development. So yeah, I bring in mostly M&A deals and finance those types of deals. Yes.
And so when you come to a bank and you want to go out and develop business for the bank, and so how do you go out? What's your vision for developing business for a bank?
So the vision really comes from what the bank wants me to bring in, right? What business does the bank want me to bring in? That's the first thing you need to figure out. And I went from management to business development, so it was a huge shift for me. So I learned very quickly that and just like I did in management, that you need to figure out what is the appetite of the bank that you work for. What do they want? What don't they want? What are they going to approve? What aren't they going to approve? So once you figure that out, then you start thinking about, all right, who do I need to contact in order to be able to get these types of deals? And honestly, I built my entire business on LinkedIn because
Mm,
I didn't have the broker contacts before I came into this industry. I had investment banking contacts, but those are on larger deals, right? They're not on SBA deals that go up to 5 million. So I really had to build my business from scratch. And what I did is I looked for brokers on LinkedIn. I messaged every single one that I could possibly find. I connected with them. I messaged them. I told them exactly what I do. And that's really important, is setting out the parameters of what you do so they know what to call you for, what not to call you for. And I asked them for a meeting. And I was very successful. I mean, I think probably 7 out of 10 hits was a meeting or a phone conversation.
well, you make it sound easy.
Oh, it wasn't. It was not even close to being easy.
That's a high conversion rate. I get messages every day on LinkedIn, and it's long paragraphs asking me to do business, and I ignore 100% of them.
Yeah.
Why were you more effective with your messages?
Because the first sentence in the paragraph was, I do non-collateralized lending. I do cash flow deals. And that is what you catch people with. If I were just to start and say, oh, I'm a lender and we lend for businesses and we do this and we do that, how many of those emails or messages do you get a day? Right? Tons. But when you say we are cash flow lenders and we're non-collateralized lenders, that's when you pique somebody's interest, because there are not a lot of people that do that. And I think it's very important that you have, just like TikTok, you have 3 seconds to catch people's attention. in the first sentence, you have to catch people's attention.
That's such a good point, because that's the general rule of thumb for cold calling, reaching out,
Yes,
and TikTok and social and
absolutely.
online videos and stuff. It's really just a communication
Absolutely.
strategy. I never put that together. That's interesting. So,
Yep.
all right, well, let's put it in context though. Like, there's a bunch of bankers and SBA lenders all around the country. You're one of the top in the country, right? You're a top performer.
Yes, Sam.
What does it take to be a top performer in the SBA space today? What are you doing that other people are not willing to do or not doing or don't know to do that's gotten you to where you are there?
I think I provide exceptional customer service to my clients. I think skill set is really important, right? So I have been in the industry for a long time. I think I have a certain level of skill set. So when I speak with someone, they know automatically whether I know what I'm talking about or whether I don't. A. And because of that skill set, then clients start to trust me, and I never ever do anything to benefit myself. It's always about the client. For example, people will come to me with real estate deals and they say, "Yeah, I want to do a 7A." And I'm like, "No, you know what? This is best fit for a 504." And I don't even do 504s. So it's always been about the clients. I've gained their trust and I provide exceptional service to them. I think that's what really differentiates me from other people. And I've worked my butt off to get my COIs and for my pipeline. I mean, it didn't come easy, it didn't come overnight.
Well, I had a couple things in my notes after, just kind of looking into some of your stuff. I have a work ethic, something you
Hmm.
have, and not everyone has it in our space, and
Sure.
and just your mentality. You don't want to just stop at, all right, my goal is to do 15 million. Let me stop. It's like, how far can I go? How big can we get?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, it's mindset.
right. Yeah, exactly. Um, and I mean, you're definitely someone who thinks big. In fact, is it true you're writing multiple books right now? Is that true? Did
Yes,
I hear a
yes, I
rumor?
am. No, that is true. So I am I've already written my memoir. So I wrote
Whoa,
that during the pandemic. Yeah.
that's
And it
crazy.
really yes, my trials and tribulations of, what I went through. I come from an underserved background. I didn't grow up rich, so I had ADHD. I went through a lot to get to where I am. Everyone thinks I was on easy street. I never was. So I'm writing my memoir just so people can understand that if I can do it, anybody else can. And then I also am writing another book. It's kind of like I haven't decided what I'm going to call it, but it's kind of like a how-to book, a life skills book, which is centered around my TikTok stuff. So
Yep.
it's okay. I got out of college. How do you know what job to look for? Once you know what job to look for, how do you find it? How do you interview for that job? How do you prepare for your interview? All right, so you got the offer. How do you negotiate your salary? All right, so now you're starting to work. What are the do's and don'ts at work? You got your first paycheck. What do you do with the money? So, kind of like a step by step approach for young people that are coming out of college to just help them navigate life better.
That's great content. And you're like me. It's like, obviously you have a job, you're creating content, you're writing books. You're doing even more than that, I'm sure, but it's like you're just thinking bigger than everyone else. And I think that's what it boils down to, at least in our space, because the stuff I keep having people come on here and tell me what they're doing to be successful, and it's all kind of the basic stuff. But the thing that's kind of everyone has a certain mindset, and that is something that it's a lot harder to teach, because I feel like you either have it or you don't have it, and part of it goes back to your roots.
Yeah, I always say, and there's a quote that says, your goals should always exceed your current capacity to meet them. So whatever your goal is, you shouldn't be able to meet it right now. And you really have to dream big. And your goals are something that you're going to have to work hard for. And if your goals don't scare the shit out of you, they're not big enough.
Okay, well then I'm in good shape, because
Okay, good.
I'm afraid to say mine out loud, but anyway. A lot of the people that are also successful that I talk to come from a situation where they didn't grow up with privilege, didn't grow up with wealth, and which is my biggest fear, that my kids are gonna grow up like brats. But I'm from Boca, which is high end here in South Florida, high income, snooty type of place. But
Mhm.
we didn't have a ton of money. So we lived kind of on the outskirts, and I would get dropped off in like the worst car in the whole school. Cause like kids would be driving up in
So
BMWs.
embarrassing.
Oh yeah. It'd be like a jalopy and it would squeak when you'd open it. And I'd be like, Mom, drop me off down the street. Jeez. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't even think about this till recently, but it's like, now I like cars a lot. And I think, do you have a Tesla? Cause I think I saw
I
in
have a
one of your
Tesla.
videos. Okay. I
Yes.
have a Tesla too. Why do I have that? Because I grew up with a crappy car and now I want a nice car. And that motivates me to work harder. I don't want to have to worry about money or anything like that. So I'll just work my butt off. And that's what
Yes.
motivates me. So if you didn't grow up with those scars, what do you have that motivates you? I think it's harder.
Oh, absolutely. I always say the biggest killer of motivation is childhood affluence. Really is, because I am around a lot of people that grew up rich, and very few of them have the drive that I do, have the resilience that I do. And, being knocked down, it teaches you so much. And every time that you're knocked down, there's a lesson in that. And those obstacles are there to teach you something, and they're there to build your character. And without those obstacles, you don't become a fighter. And if you're not a fighter, you're just an average person. And who wants to be average?
I just think anyone could do anything. That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
You were in management before this, you said, and I'm curious about this because this is the direction I'm heading in somewhat reluctantly. But were you in management in the SBA space or like in the previous career?
And so, yeah, so I was a manager in SBA at Bank of California. And then once I left there, uh, then I went to just strict business development. So
Okay.
I've been in management since actually, yeah, since 2001. Yeah.
I used to send some deals over there to Lisa Forrest back in the day.
Oh yes, I know Lisa very well.
Yeah.
Lisa's a good friend of mine. Yeah, she was there before I was. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. She's at Live Oak now
Yeah,
doing that same
she's
stuff.
great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. When I met her, I didn't even know it was possible to do those unsecured deals, business acquisitions. So I stumbled on her but now I do them. So,
Right. Yeah.
so when you were in management, whether it's SBA or whatever, like let me ask you this actually. There was a guy you reference in one of your talks. His name's Bob Theriault.
Bob Terrio. Yes,
There
Bob
you go.
Terrio.
I butchered
Yeah.
his name. What was it that he taught you that made you a more effective manager or leader?
Wow, he taught me a lot, but one of the biggest things that he taught me was to understand what motivates my people. Because most managers don't know what, and it's the motivation for each individual is different. So you have to really be customized in how you approach management. You can't manage every single person the same exact way. So find out what motivates every single one of those people. And based on that, have a customized management approach to that.
Hmm.
And that was he's taught me so much, but that was one of the biggest things that I learned from Bob.
Okay. Well, that's really good advice.
I really think one of the most important things to remember as a manager, and this is, I think, why I was so successful as a manager, is that your people are never a means to an end for you. Your people are not about you hitting your goal. The job of any manager or any leader, really, let's call them leaders, is to have every single person on your team be the best version of themselves that they can be. If you focus on that, if you focus on the individual and their achievements as people and care about them as people rather than a means to an end, everything else falls into place. Everything. And it took me a while to learn that. But once I learned that and I implemented that, that's when I started to see real success.
I feel like it's rare that someone is both really good at sales and business development and management. And maybe that's you and hopefully it's me. But I would just go and be like, hey guys, I just crushed it last year, so just do what I did.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that that's not the right approach because everyone's different.
Yeah, no, it's not really the right approach, obviously. I mean, it just, the best example is Magic Johnson, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Horrible coach, absolutely horrible coach. And very rarely do you get one of those top people becoming good coaches. Michael Jordan would have been a horrible coach. Larry Bird made it happen, which was kind of weird. But generally, yes, because you, as being a producer and a top producer, you're only worried about yourself, and you're not really worried about other people and what other people are doing. So your thought process is very different. It's very selfish oriented, because you have to be, right? But once you become a manager, that has to completely change. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to understand what's going to make the other person better, what is going to make the person on your team better. And it's going to be different than what's made you better or motivates you. So it's a huge transition. And, I loved both. I still love both. But I think, if you're going to make that transition, you really have to understand that it's not about you any longer.
Well, that's really good advice. And I think I'll leave it there. You've done several podcasts where you get a little bit more into your story, as you will in your memoir. So I'm going to encourage everyone to go check it out. And I will include links to stuff in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Pattie Ehsaei, am I saying that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. It's nice to meet you, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, email me at ray@artofsba.com. Until next time, ta-ta.